Digimon Data Squad, or Savers. A season of Digimon that I think deserves more love outside of how baller everyone agrees Marcus Punch First Ask Questions Later Damon is. But much like Adventure 02 and Tamers before it, I've always wondered what things might shake out like if the Digimon Data Squad team swapped Digimon partners. And so on today's video, I'm doing exactly that. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another video. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and ringing that bell. And yes, it is time for Digimon Data Squad swaps. Data Squad does present an interesting quandary on which people work or even count towards swaps. I am saying I'm keeping this exclusively to anime characters because there are a couple of characters that got added in Digimon World Data Squad or Digimon Savers Another Mission in Japan. These new characters make things a little bit more awkward, especially because one of them has a duplicate partner Digimon. And I'm also not including Miki and Megumi. I'm really sorry. They both have Pawn Chessmon, so we're incredibly limited by what lines they would get, but I guess if they swapped, they'd just get each other's Digivolution lines. So without further ado, and with a spoiler warning for Digimon Data Squad, let's begin with our first set of swaps. And that will be Kirsty Damon and her dad Spencer Damon. I was sorely tempted to swap Kirsty with Keenan because the two of them eventually become school friends. But equally early on, Kirsty is also fond of Thomas, and he definitely has to swap with Marcus, so I think her father is a good fit too. And by not swapping her with Keenan, that means that the two people that are partnered with birds aren't just swapping with each other, so we can have a bit more variety. As such, Kirsty will be getting her father's Bancho Leomon, but of course her partner was met as a rookie and did digivolve to Aquilamon and Garudamon. As such, her rookie will be a Lekmon, which could go through the same deaths and revivals as her Biomon, but also digivolve to Leomon and then load a Liomon. I think this works quite well because we still get a Leomon, or at least Leomon pre-evolution, dying in this season. But it ends on a little bit more of a happy note because at least it gets to be revived and then evolve further into its Leomon line. I know there are some people who think that Bancho should never have pre-evolution forms, and there are some that do. I ride the line back and forward. I think some Banchos very clearly belong in evolution lines, some don't. But we're swapping partners, so just forget Bancho Leomon. Just remove Bancho Leomon from your mind. Doesn't matter, okay? Just move on. And while Kirsty's Leomon gets to live, sadly the same can't be said for Spencer's Biomon. As far as I know, we never saw a full evolution line for Spencer's Bancho Leomon, which of course Spencer's consciousness eventually came to inhabit. I would like to take this opportunity to say that we have been robbed of a bird Bancho Digimon for far too long, and a Bancho Garudamon or Bancho Birdramon would be awesome. But as we don't have that, I am instead choosing the humanoid Valkyrymon. I think it's a good megaform to echo Kirsty's Biomon for this purpose, especially for Spencer's consciousness to reside in, and I also think a Valkyrymon burst mode would be phenomenal. Next to swap is Commander Richard Sampson and Commander General Homer Yashima. Plot-wise, this swap is actually, I'll be honest, quite unappealing to me. Kudamon's cool, calm personality suits Richard quite well, and Kamimon being a sort of butler serving drinks and helping out is a good fit with Homer. However, it's only a bit of fun, isn't it? So, Homer's Kudamon would to me follow the initially goofy and then quite strong Digivolution line that Kamimon gets. As such, I would have his Kudamon become Ginryumon, which to me in its official art looks similarly silly to Guapamon, then it would digivolve to Hisaryumon, and then finally Mitamamon, which is the alternate Kudamon Mega that debuted in Digimon Eirias. This line I think thematically is perhaps the weakest just because Homer and Kudamon feel so at odds, but the powerful Mitamamon and goofy Ginryumon at least match the powerful Jumbo Gamemon and goofy Guapamon that we initially got in Homer's Kamemon. As for Richard Sampson and Kamemon, I would like to introduce some of the serenity and elegance in Richard's Kudamon line, as well as end in a Royal Knight, just like Richard's Kentorosmon. As such, I have chosen the line to be Kamemon to Dinohumon to Knightmon, and finally the Royal Knight Duftmon. I think this with Dinohumon keeps the turtle-looking design, although Dinohumon is supposed to be, well, a dinosaur human, but consistently Digimon uses it as a turtle Digivolution, so who am I to rebel against the makers, you know? Then the warrior Dinohumon gaining armor and more honor as a defender of the human and digital world, before finally becoming Duftmon. Though Duftmon does side with Yggdrasil in Savers, I suppose this Duftmon would side with the humans, and perhaps Kentorosmon would side with Yggdrasil instead. And hey, if you're watching this video, you're probably interested in learning and discovering more about topics you find interesting, and that's why I think think you'll love today's sponsor, Skillshare. I was super happy when Skillshare reached out to me last year. As you probably noticed with my channel, I love both learning and exploring and creating things, as well as exploring new areas I know a little bit about or perhaps nothing at all. Especially now we're into 2020, I am really focusing on both my channel's growth and my own personal health and well-being. I can take care of my diet and exercise, but during my downtime, I find Skillshare an invaluable resource. Whether I'm trying to improve my own life by taking classes like The Ultimate Self-Care Playbook, Discover and Nurture Your Centered Self by Queer Eye's Jonathan Van Ness, or taking the time to up my YouTube skills and ability with classes like YouTube Success, Script, Shoot and Edit with MKBHD, aka Marquez Brownlee. Skillshare is giving me the classes I need to discover, but also to unwind and relax whilst investing into myself. And to that end, Skillshare is always ad-free, so you can stay in the zone while you're exploring new skills, with new premium classes launched every week, so there's always something new to discover. Plus, their entire catalogue is now available with subtitles in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German. So I think now is a perfect time to check out Skillshare and see how they can help make your 2022 a year of new learning, growth, and connection through creativity. And to help you with that process, the first 1,000 people to use my link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and let's continue with our swaps. For Keenan and Yoshino, I must admit I also initially struggled. Thankfully, I got to bounce some ideas off my good bud Proto, who, by the way, I am playing a ton of Digimon games with and other stuff over on my second channel, Karn EX, which is probably in the card above me, but definitely in the description down below. If you want to see things like a Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth LP, us doing Digimon World 4, plus a bunch of ROM hacks and other crazy stuff, you might enjoy that channel. And we came to the conclusion that the important traits that Yoshino influences in Lalamon are strength and femininity, and the important traits Keenan influences in Falcomon are ninjas, combat strategy, and a tactical nature. As such, for Yoshino, her Falcomon would become Harpymon to Shatumon, and finally Jet Sylphimon. It is funny that accidentally her entire line basically compromises of Armor Digimon or Spirit Digimon, but they really are the best bird Digimon that also have those similar feminine humanoid features we see somewhat in Sunflowermon, but definitely in Lilamon and Rosemon. As for Keenan, it was tough. Some of his Digimon clearly have this ninja aesthetic, though that does somewhat disappear in the Ultimate and Mega forms. As such, I've decided Keenan's Lalamon shall, like Yoshino, become a traditionally armored Digimon, Shurimon, then one of my favourites, Agitarmon, before finally becoming Bloom Lordmon. This line works in a couple of ways I like. Firstly, Shurimon allows Lalamon to do something of an adventure callback, or reference, which its normal Mega Rosemon kind of does, despite the fact it kind of became Rosemon technically before Mimi's did. Anyway, and even though Shurimon is an Adventure 02 reference, of course Shurimon is tied to the Digi-Egg of Sincerity, which is Mimi's crest. And then Bloom Lordmon very much feels like a masculine presenting answer to Rosemon or Lotusmon, possibly even Reflessimon, but I think it works very nicely in this instance, especially to mirror the Rosemon Lalamon would normally become with Yoshino. And finally is Marcus and Thomas. These boys of course had to be swaps, but I wanted to do something less predictable with them. I think the most obvious thing to do would be to give Marcus's Gaomon Zeidgarurumon as a reference to the Gaomon from Digimon Next, and then Thomas's Agumon Victory Greymon. But other than the Digimon Next reference, I just really don't think these two megas fit these boys' personalities all that well. For Thomas's Agumon, I have instead decided to lean into Thomas's role as the Blue Ranger. Blue is of course a theme in his Digimon partner, but also in him in his uniform, a trope you can see in other Digimon characters like Matt, or indeed, as I say, the Blue Ranger archetype from Super Sentai or Power Rangers. As such, I wanted to combine Blue with the dragon and dinosaur elements we see in Agumon's common Digivolutions. Therefore, Thomas's Agumon would become Cordramon Blue, then Wingdramon, and finally Dynasmon. The wings in this line I think match the speed of Mac Gaugamon, and the strength in all of them, but specifically Dynasmon, matches Mirage Gaugamon, and the kind of scrappy fighter feeling of the entire Gaomon line. Dynasmon is also a Royal Knight, which was not a factor in Thomas or Marcus's line in Data Squad, but given how prevalent the Royal Knights are in this story, I think a rewrite where a protagonist mega is one would make sense. It would also invert the fact that normally Thomas's Mirage Gaugamon bears the digital hazard, which is commonly a marker seen in the Digivolution line of another Royal Knight, Gallantmon. Plus then we'd also get to see Dynasmon Burst Mode, which is just fantastic. And as for Marcus, I really like him with Gaomon, both of them focusing on their punches. His Gaomon will become Grismon, maintaining those boxing gloves but turning them into big spiked weapons, and then the ultimate becomes a struggle. I would prefer something like Callismon, but may fear it just be too evil and oversized. As such, I've settled on Grappleomon. Obviously the grap part refers to it being a grappler, and it still has its primary weapons animations on its arms or fists. And then it also adds, I think, a really interesting flip, where instead of just Spencer, in this new alternate universe, it's his children that both have Leomon family in their evolution lines. And then finally, Marcus's Grapleomon would become Marsmon, a criminally underused Mega Digimon, which works beautifully for this line with the beast and fist focus, also adding flames and a general red aesthetic to match Marcus and his Red Ranger trope role and coloration. The fiery aura Marsmon already has also lends itself incredibly well to both the obvious burst mode, but also means we could see a really creepy ruined mode. This might also mean we'd finally see a Gaomon burst mode too, like Agumon got. And those are my swaps and new Digivolution lines for the Digimon Data Squad partners. Thank you to my wonderful Sovereign ZDK14 for his incredible support of this channel, as well as all the names you can see on screen right now for supporting this channel, and I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye bye.